Good afternoon. It is Sunday, uh, almost 2 o'clock, uh, August 30th. And we are now only slightly more than 2 months away from the election. And I guess we're going to have to talk about the election because it's now 2 months away, and it is now the single most important thing in the United States that's about to happen. Right now, if the election was today, I think Biden would win. And Biden and the Democratic Party establishment still has the chance to win in a very large landslide. Just going over the numbers again last night and this morning and reviewing some of the polls over the past week. And just in my own experience, I still feel that at this point and at this moment, Democrats will carry Texas, which is 38 electoral votes. I think they'll get Arizona, which I believe is 11 electoral votes. So between the two of them, it's almost 50. They're going to get New Mexico and Colorado and California and Oregon and Washington and Hawaii. So west of the Mississippi, the Democrats actually will do very, very well. At least that's what I see so far. That obviously in the Northeast, the Democrats will most likely sweep all of New England and New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware and DC and Maryland. So the Democrats will pick up another 140 or so electoral votes just in the Northeast. The issue, basically, the issues that are coming up, the states that are important for both sides is the 2 or 3 states in the Midwest and 2 or 3 states in the Southeast. These are the swing states. You have Florida and Georgia and North Carolina in the South. Florida is 29 electoral votes. Georgia is 16 electoral votes. North Carolina is 13 electoral votes. So those 3 alone are 58. You need 270 to win. So those 3 states, all 3 can go either way, depending on who's rigging it and by how much and how many mail-in ballots are not counted. And Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia, what a coincidence. All 3 are being attacked, basically, by the Bush administration and DeJoy and taking out as many of the postal machines as they can out of all the states that are toss-up. They're not leaving it to chance. Florida, there are enormous amount of machines being taken out. Georgia, a lot of machines are being taken out. North Carolina, a lot of machines are being taken out. This action alone should be putting the president and DeJoy, the head of the post office, they should be in prison right now, this moment, because they are interfering with the United States Postal Service. Just out and out criminal. That said, so basically, we really don't have, going into the election is rigged. It's rigged by the present administration by taking out millions of people's votes simply by taking out these machines in all of the states that are borderline. And just prior to going on here just now, I spent a few hours going through as many stories as I could to find out where the machines have been taken out. I wanted to get a list state by state of how many were taken out from each state. You know, let's say 20 from New York or 15 from somewhere else. I could not get a complete list from anywhere because the Postal Service is keeping it as secret as they possibly can. But there was one story from Reuters, one story that most of the ones that are being taken out, actually all of the ones that were in this story, were from approximately 15 different states. Guess what? In the Great Lakes and in the Southeast, basically where all the purple states are that could go either way, that's where the machines are. So if you want to rig this election, you rig it by taking out a way that people can vote. Because the fewer the people, better chance the Republicans win. The more people vote, the Democrats have an increased chance of winning. So it is already rigged. It's rigged actually as of June, when, after reading all of these stories, it was in June that they started to close down these big postal machines. From that moment on, this election has been rigged. So it's a rigged election already. It's not rigged. It doesn't even have to be rigged electronically. It's already rigged by the stopping people's chances of getting their mailed ballots counted, or even received and sent back. You're disenfranchising millions of people unconstitutionally. It's practically being done right in the public's face. During the hearings of the past week, the most substantive of the questioning from the Democrats came incredibly from Wasserman Schultz down in Florida. And she nailed him, DeJoy, against the wall. And if we were living in any other country, he would be in prison because he straight out lied to Congress. He perjured himself in front of Congress. That's a crime, by the way. Not only is the lying in front of Congress a crime, but the crime that he lied about is a crime. So he's committed a number of crimes now already. He's a criminal. And he simply hasn't been put away, but he's a criminal now. So that's in that atmosphere, in that situation, we're having an election. We're about to have an election because I don't think the Democrats are going to fix anything. It's not of their doing, but they have the power to fix it, and they're not. But it is the Republicans' problem, and it is their crime, which makes them criminals. So, and every single Republican who's elected, who is supporting this or is keeping silent, is really they're an accomplice. They're accomplices to it. The entire Republican establishment is an accomplice to this crime that we're in the middle of. We'll see how much deeper it goes, but I think that the entire West, the West Coast, the Southwest, from Texas to California, I think will go blue. I think in the Southeast, most of the Southeast will go blue. Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. 4 out of 5 states. The only state not going blue is that one state, South Carolina, that has been a renegade basically from the very first day of of this country. Uh, so South Carolina is the only red state, really true red state left in the entire southeast portion of the United States. So the entire Northeast, from Pennsylvania and Delaware and Maryland and DC north, Mid-Atlantic and New England is all blue, solid. New Hampshire is not going red. There is one electoral vote in Maine that will most likely go red. One. That's the only one in the entire Northeast section of the United States. So it is the Great Lake region, again, and the Southeast, where the possibilities for both, for winning and losing, that's where they are. The states where they basically are focused is Wisconsin with 10 electoral votes, Michigan with 16, and Ohio with 18. It's not a ton of electoral votes, but it is still, it's enough to win or lose. So right now, I think that the Democrats would take Wisconsin by 5 or 6 points in Wisconsin. I think they would win by a few more points in Michigan, nearly 10%. I think Ohio is a problem, will probably be a problem for the Democrats. Will be hard, be a tough one, because Cincinnati, both the southwest part of Ohio and the southeast part of Ohio, which is near West Virginia, where it used to be solid Democrat, is now probably solid red. It should be Democratic, but the union jobs have disappeared. Most of the high-paying jobs there from car companies have disappeared, and so with those jobs, votes go from Democrat to Republican. Where do the Republicans get their strength? Let's take a look at that. They get their strength. They're going to get their electoral base from states that average 3 and 4 and the very smallest amount of votes. The 3 electoral votes like Idaho and Montana and North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Kansas 6, or a lot of the states that have less than 10 electoral votes. That's where they're getting their strength. They're basically in the northern plains, the northern Rockies, and in the southern Mississippi Valley and Tennessee Valley. That's where the Republicans are strongest. Arkansas, West Virginia. These are all places that used to be democratically held. Democrats could go in and pick up lots of seats. They could pick up these states, but I don't think they're going to try to. They're even going to try. I don't know if it's worth trying. I think I would just concentrate on the toss-up states and make sure that they go with me. The Democrats, if they pick up the Great Lakes and if they pick up the Southeast, like I think they will, if enough people's votes are counted, I've counted it up many, many times, and it is not very hard for the Democrats to exceed 400 electoral votes for the first time since Lyndon Johnson, since 1964. I think they can easily do it, easily. It really depends on a number of things, obviously. Depends on the press and how they play out this election, and whether they nail Trump to any of his policies and how he's hurting people tremendously. We are on the verge of possibly watching millions more people lose their jobs. And now we're talking about millions of people, tens of thousands of people that are not just restaurant workers or other workers that are not getting paid that much, or even small businesses. Now we're talking about pilots, thousands of them, 20, 30,000 at a time being laid off from the large United Airlines and all the other large airlines. And now we're talking about large incomes that are now going to be lost, and all of those industries that support the airline industries, they're going to be affected, and all the jobs around all the airports and all the hubs, and these are incredibly important to the nation because all the jobs that support the industry, um, all the food, the suppliers, the cleaning, all of the companies that fix the airplanes and provide the parts and metal, and it's just going to be an enormous amount of more layoffs of low, medium, and high income people. And we're talking about another big slowdown. Um, there's still, to this day, after nearly over 180,000 people dying, it's 3 times the amount of people that died from the Vietnam War, Americans who died from the Vietnam War. You have 3 Vietnams in the course of 5 months. 5 months. You have 3 Vietnams. It took 10 years, basically, to get to 60,000, 58,000 dead. Now you have 3 times that in 5 months. And the imbecile in the White House and the people that support him are running around because they don't want to lose their power. They don't want to lose the money that they can shove into their pockets. They're willing to lie about the economy right in public and not take any responsibility for it whatsoever. Their responsibility, they should have been tough right from the beginning and stuck with a nationwide policy of putting on your mask and doing all the other things and shutting everything down over a long period of time, maybe the entire year of 2020, and getting us over the hump medically. But instead, we're in a roller coaster, a nonstop roller coaster, where the numbers go up and down depending on how local governments deal with it. And of course, local governments can't deal with it because if you're a local town in, let's say, Lyndhurst, Ohio, and you're a half hour outside of Cleveland, and Lyndhurst, Ohio, you decide we're going to lock down and kids are going to stay at home and learn from home, and you're doing, and all the movie theaters, everything is shut down, and you've got no cases reported in your town for a month. But let's say that 3 towns around you, because you're just one town, people go in and out every day, and people work there every day and buy pizza every day. So you can't control what comes in and out of your town. You can control your town. You can't control the commerce. And because it's not nationwide, the people in other towns have a more flippant attitude. So they'll bring the virus in 5 seconds after you loosen up. Or even if you keep things locked down, they'll still bring it in because it's not a nationwide policy. And so you have this unbelievably imbecilic, criminal, immature, non-policy ability, no ability whatsoever to create any kind of policy towards anything that's coherent to getting this thing finished or to conquering it in any way, except for throwing out darts out in the public like you're used to doing when you used to be a public citizen. And I'm talking about Trump. That may have worked when he was a private citizen. And the public didn't realize just what a nitwit he was, what a criminal. But now you can't throw darts on a board when you're president of the United States and people's lives are on the line. And you've got these crazy people following him, thinking that he's the answer. He's the problem. Under his administration, 45 million people, 50 million people, a million people, again, just last week lost their jobs. A million people. That's 200,000 more than in any week or at any time during Obama's administration. Even during the time in the very beginning when he inherited these problems from Bush Jr. The amount of jobs being lost now is still depression level losses. We're still in a depression. We are in a depression now. Look around. This is what a depression looks like, except that you're not seeing the millions of people that are basically homeless or about to become homeless, who are running to nonprofits to get their food. You may or may not be seeing that because it's not being shown, but there are millions of people now that can't get food on the table. Right? Just incredible. And meanwhile, you have this nitwit in the White House who is, again, doing the thing that Nixon did incredibly, going down the route of Nixon's law and order BS. It had nothing to do with law and order. You know, Nixon's law and order, he was a criminal, and he's talking about law and order. Got this guy, he's a criminal, and he's talking about law and order. Law and order is not sending cops somewhere and beating up on people who are protesting. That's not law and order. Law and order is following the Constitution and doing what's right on a nationwide level and creating policies that solve issues. That's law and order. Law and order is actually having police departments that serve the public and don't go out and start shooting people and start killing people and putting people in jail for no reason, like I've seen on videos 1,000 times over. Every single state, the police do the same thing. Every single state. It's a script. They pull people out of their cars. They walk up to people in their own homes. It could be anywhere. And it doesn't matter how illegal the cops are acting, they do it. It is unbelievable. And that is what has to stop. The Black Lives Matter movement has to include the policies of solving the culture of this insane militarism culture that's in the police departments of practically every single police department in this country, where the thought process is that you are above the citizen. That thought process itself is the most un-American thing I've ever heard and I've witnessed. It's un-American. It's fascist to the core. The police are not above or below anybody. They are citizens too. And for them to come walking out of a car with their hands on their gun to start a conversation with anybody who is clearly, women with their kids, and they put the kids on the ground in the middle of a parking lot, those cops should be put in prison for a minimum of 20 years. Minimum 20 years, if not longer, because it's insane. It's inhuman. I wouldn't expect that kind of activity from Russia, but it happens here. And because it's happening here, all these right-wing nuts are defending the illegal, are defending the impossible policy of inhumanity. That's what's so unbelievable. The question put to me back in 1974, to me in my college class at the University of Miami, could it happen here? And could it happen here? The question is about, could Nazism happen here? Can Hitler happen here? Damn right. Out of the 50 people that were in that classroom, me and one other guy said yes. And I knew immediately that me and the other guy were right. And 48 said no. And then the teacher asked, how many people follow the news closely? 2 people raised their hands, me and the other guy who said yes. So the 2 people who followed the news closely, 2 people in 1974 following the news closely, that blew me away. I'll never forget it. Back in 1974, it blew me away because I was still just at the very end of the Vietnam War. And that many people, 98% of the class, or 96% of the class said they didn't follow the news closely. Can you imagine what it is now? It's probably 99.9% of people who don't follow the news closely. So if you're not following the news, then you don't have the facts to begin with. So the 2 people who thought that Nazism could happen here were the ones that followed the news. Incredibly, the teacher did not follow up on that observation. And we moved on to whatever the class was about. It actually wasn't about social studies. It was actually a literature class, some kind of freshman class 101 literature. So, but the lessons of a lifetime are not to be forgotten. So here we are. We're 2 months away. I still see a path for the Democrats to win big time. The press is playing it out so that they're going to do everything they can to keep it close so they get high ratings on election night. And they are playing with fire, because if they play too deeply into that script of keeping it close, because I don't really believe that the numbers are getting close. Not yet. I don't believe that. I believe that states like Michigan and states like Wisconsin, I think that Biden will actually win those 2 states by 5 or more percentage points. I think I still think Ohio is going to be pretty close. Again, depends on how many votes are not counted. There's going to be millions and millions of votes not counted. So we can't allow that to happen. It's probably going to happen, and we'll see what happens. But, we still have 2 months to go down this road. I think we'll leave it at that for right now. Thanks. See you next time.